Can you talk about how hard a PhD is and if it's worth it? Yes. To answer your first question, I think getting a PhD is extremely hard. I think it demands a lot of you in terms of like brain power, right? Like you're reading a ton, you're writing a ton, you're conducting research, like it's a lot. And like my program, the way it worked is like you're going to school, but you're also like you're working for the school as a research assistant. So like it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of like dealing with your self-doubt and like realizing how very little you know. I think a lot of how hard your PhD is also depends on your school and the supports around you. My program only had one other person in my year and was not a super supportive environment. I'm going to say this as politically as I can. I did not feel as though I had a bunch of support for most of my PhD, so it was challenging in terms of navigating the politics and my mental health, Lord Almighty. Like it was a rough time. My PhD days were some of the most challenging that I've ever faced. And again, I think it depends on the school you're at. It depends on the people you surround yourself with. I was also dealing with panic disorder and migraine. So like there was a lot going on. So like it was really hard. I think in terms of, for me at least, the actual content, like I'll just say like I'm good at school. I like school. I'm good at school. Like that wasn't really hard. It was more like mentally, emotionally, that part was challenging because it was just a difficult, competitive, kind of toxic environment to be in. And I don't think I was prepared for that. I don't think for most of my PhD career I was well supported through that. And I just like I think people should be like ready for how taxing it can be mentally, or like pick a school that has a different, or program at a school that has like a different climate, because I have heard of some experiences where I'm like, that sounds so magical and supportive and like welcoming, and that was not my experience at all. Was it worth it? Here's what I'll say. Do I regret getting my PhD? No. I don't regret it at all. And like I live in a city I love, in an apartment I love. I've built my own business that I love. Like life's not perfect, but like it's pretty good. Like I use the skills and knowledge I gained during my PhD, like no regrets. And if it was like go back in time, start over from square one, like do I think I would make the same decisions? No. So if I was to start over, I would go to law school and I would do like a JD PhD, and the PhD would probably be in a completely different field than I did my PhD in. I started my PhD when I was young. I was 22, I think. I was, straight out of college, went into a master's, started my PhD program, and I'm just like, I know so much more about what I know myself better now. I know so much more about like what I want to do now, what interests me now. And I just like don't think I would pick that same path knowing now what I do. So no regrets, but probably wouldn't do it the same if I were doing it again. Generally though, like I love school, I love learning. I would get a PhD. Sometimes I think now I'm like, maybe I'll go back and get another PhD, right? Like I love school. I'm a nerd. So that's that. So when people are thinking like, oh, like, is it going to be worth it for me? I feel like what I think about is, do you need it for what you want to do? Like if you need it for what you want to do, and it's something that's like your goal and you have to have a PhD to get there, then like it'll totally be worth it. If you need it for some sense of personal fulfillment, or because you're like you're constantly chasing achievements and accomplishments, which like I will say I am like that, in that standpoint, like it only feels worth it for like 10 minutes. And then you're like, oh, what's the next achievement I can chase? Like in that sense, I don't really particularly find it worth it personally. But yeah, if it's because you have a love of learning and you want to pursue deep expertise in something, or because you need it to get to where you want to go, then I think it'll, even if it's challenging, it'll definitely be worth it because you have that like guiding star of like what you hope to accomplish. And I will say, like, that's what got me through the challenging times in my PhD, is like I was so passionate about my field. I was so passionate about my dissertation. I was so excited about the research I was doing, and I just like knew that that was what I was meant to be doing. And like that passion like made all the other like BS that was going on and that was challenging, like it was like, it's fine, because like this is like, I am here to do this thing, and it totally made it worth it in like that moment. This is just like such an interesting reflection, because I'm like, oh, like I love the research I did. I love my dissertation study. I love the research I did. And at the same time, like, yeah, if I were like to remake that decision from the place I am now, I just know it would look so completely different. You know, I'm also, you know, over 10 years older now, and just have like such a different outlook on life and what I'm interested in. So it's just very fascinating to think about.